there's a reason why you wanted to structure the business this way, and it's that so people want to work with you. And I know that sounds very simplistic, but there's a strategy behind it, and I want you to explain that to our listeners.
So I don't remember what book it was in, but I read a long time ago, if you can get your customers or your clients or the people that are effectively like how you make your money, if you can get them rooting for you and like advocating for you, then you could pretty much win, I would say, forever as a business. Like if the people that are coming in and essentially giving you money, they're getting their mortgage through us and we get paid, obviously. But if the people who are your clients and who are your customers can instead become advocates for you, you're really never going to run out of clients. Like they're going to be constantly out there, constantly hey, you don't stop. Oh, you're getting a house? Stop what you're talking to. You have to call these guys. So we were just very particular about, like I said before, just making sure that you answer the phone, you call people back. Like we have a lot of values as a company that are just, they seem very simple. Like they are very, very, very simple, but it really just goes back to like, I try to tell everyone when they start with Mitten, like treat your client, and this is like the golden rule, right? But like treat your client how you would want to be treated. So if you're getting a mortgage, how do you want to be treated? Do you want to wait 3 days for a callback? Do you want to not know how much you're paying, or like just be very forthcoming with everything?
Welcome back to Good Better Broker, as we welcome in Chris Zabonick. He is the broker owner of Mitten Mortgage Lending, based here in Metro Detroit. Chris, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Justin. So happy to be here.
So a little about you for our audience. You've been in the business now since 2012, started Mitten Mortgage Lending back in 2018, and you've really done an incredible job of growing your company, Chris, in an age where it's instant gratification. We want everything now. You've kind of taken the opposite approach, and you've really tried to slow grow your business. So tell us, how have you been able to do that?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Justin. And yeah, it's been an interesting, I guess, 6+ years. It's been a lot of fun. It's hard to have been patient with it, I think, at some times for sure. But we've really just focused since day one on making sure we do a really good job, deliver a really good product, not only for our real estate partners, but for our clients as well. From day one, the sole focus has been doing a good enough job to earn organic referrals from people. You do like be the obvious choice, I guess, for people to, send referrals through.
All right. You dropped the word organic for the first time in this conversation. So I want to ask you, what is your definition of an organic relationship? I guess I should be a little bit more defined on the word organic, I suppose, but I would just say, natural, like something that happens and occurs naturally. And I think for it's important to remember, when we talk relationships, when it comes to an organic relationship, it doesn't happen, bang. It doesn't just happen. I don't shake your hand and now we have a relationship, but we don't immediately have. I don't shake your hand and say, hey, I'm Chris, and now you send me your loans. It happens over time. It happens through, it really happens over time. Like repeat meeting, talking, just doing business. It could be anything. And it could be a lot of it's not doing business. A lot of times when you start a relationship with someone, you're not doing any business with them, and that's okay, but you don't really have a relationship yet. So yeah, when you and I were talking before the interview, you mentioned that it's about providing value multiple times. And in some cases, that's going to mean you get nothing in return until maybe 4, 6, maybe even 12 months down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes longer. There are realtors that we've even recently started working with, and it goes beyond just realtors, financial advisors, you name it. There are many ways in which, we connect with people for mortgages, but there are some of those individuals, and our referral partners who we have been building a relationship with, really since 2018, and it's just now starting to flourish, but that's okay.
There's a reason why you wanted to structure the business this way, and it's that so people want to work with you. And I know that sounds very simplistic, but there's a strategy behind it, and I want you to explain that to our listeners.
So I don't remember what book it was in, but I read a long time ago, if you can get your customers or your clients or the people that are effectively like how you make your money, if you can get them rooting for you and like advocating for you, then you could pretty much win, I would say, forever as a business. Like if the people that are coming in and essentially giving you money, they're getting their mortgage through us and we get paid obviously, but if the people who are your clients and who are your customers can instead become advocates for you, you're really never going to run out of clients. Like they're going to be constantly out there, constantly hey, you don't stop. Oh, you're getting a house, stop what you're talking to. You have to call these guys. So we were just very particular about, like I said before, just making sure that you answer the phone, you call people back. Like we have a lot of values as a company that are just, they seem very simple. Like they are very, very, very simple, but it really just goes back to like, I try to tell everyone when they start with Mitten, like treat your client, and this is like the golden rule, right? But like treat your client how you would want to be treated. So if you're getting a mortgage, how do you want to be treated? Do you want to wait 3 days for a callback? Do you want to not know how much you're paying, or like just be very forthcoming with everything?
From the early days of the company, you were very much focused on long-term success as opposed to something that was fleeting or that was just going to come and go. How did you kind of come to that vision, if you will, that you were going to build this company in a way that led to consistent gains over a long period of time?
So I've heard many times through many people over the past couple of years, man, you guys could be doing more. You guys could be doing so much more. You guys could do this, or you guys could do that, or you guys could buy lead. You guys could be doing so much more. I hear that all the time. And don't get me wrong, I think at times we could be doing more, but for us, I didn't want to get into this, see some success. And the mortgage industry, as it is without anything else, is already, it's got its waves. And as I'm sure a lot of people know, for the last couple of years, it goes up, it goes down. But I just thought, from a consistency standpoint, if we can do a really good job, we should always consistently have some sort of business flowing. And it for me became something where I didn't want to come in, see some success, do great, and then, run out of money because we couldn't continue to buy leads, or a lull in the market happened. So now what? We just looked and said, hey, if we can get referrals from outside sources and from other people for free, I guess, if you will, then if we're not spending money to get these leads, to originate these mortgages, that's a lot more money that we can spend in other places. We can spend it on the company. We can spend it on, we can give it back to our clients. We can save them money because we don't have to charge as much because we didn't have to pay for them to come to us. So it was one of those things where I looked at it. I didn't want it to be like a touch and go. I wanted it to be something that I could do for forever. I was tired of different jobs and different careers. I had kind of settled on this was something that I wanted to do, but I wanted to make sure that we could do it for a career. And I wanted it to be something that we could be proud of, and a place where bankers or, brokers, people, loan originators could come to work and have a brand that, had a lot of integrity and had a brand that they could be proud to work for, almost knowing, like, I had worked places before where we were doing leads and we were charging people what I thought was an insane amount of money. And I never felt good about I felt good helping people get in houses and do things, but I would look at it all the time and just be like, do we really need to charge this much? And ultimately now running a business, I know they did need to charge that much because they were paying for a lot of other things, but yeah, like,
well, credit to you for following your moral compass, and that has kind of guided you throughout your time at Mitten. And you mentioned referrals. It's worth repeating. Your company is 100% referral-based, Chris. No leads, no triggers. You have no intention to change that.
There's no intention of changing that at all. We're 100% referral-based, which we're extremely proud of. Who knows, I guess, what the future brings down the road as we grow. Could we try to do that? Yes, we'll definitely try to do it the Mitten way. Like we always say, we'll try to be, as fair as we can with it, and, do as good of a job as we can with it. But I really don't, like I said, I'll never say never because you never know, but I have absolutely zero intentions of that happening anytime soon. I can say that for sure.
All right. Why is it so important to you to have a company that wants relationships with realtors? Because, you've been in the business now for over a decade, and you know that originators and realtors oftentimes don't see eye to eye, but this was really something that was a priority for you. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it all started when I started Mitten. The way it came about, well, there was obviously some in between there, but the real. I started, like we said, I started mortgages in 2012, and I actually got out of them for a very short period between then and when I started Mitten in 2018. But what kind of resparked everything was I was hanging out with a buddy who had become a real estate agent. He'd been a real estate agent for about a year, and I was no longer in commission sales. I was completely out of commission. I had a salaried job. And I kind of missed the commission a little bit. And I was like, hey, man, how is real estate going? Like, how do you like it? Because I kind of missed it a little bit. Just wanted to hear what he had to say. He said, everything's going great, but I don't have a good lender to work with. And he started listing off problems with local lenders and why they don't work or why they don't call people back or whatever the case is. And I already knew that realtors had leads. When someone wants to buy a house, they don't call a loan officer to see if they can buy it. They call a realtor to go have them go show it. And then obviously then the realtor says, hey, are you pre-approved? You need to call my guy. But kind of just like a light bulb went off. And I was like, man, if he's having this problem and he's a new agent and he's local and he doesn't have good support or good help, how many other agents locally here are wishing for the same thing? So it kind of became a no-brainer of like, man, you're telling me right now you have clients and you have referrals and you don't have anywhere to send them. Like, why don't we make a place for you to send those?
And that kind of ties into the way that you approach building relationships with your realtor partners. And we talked about this earlier. It's a slow roll. You're not coming in hot, meeting them, and then asking them for business the next time you talk to them. In some cases, you told me you're courting them for over a year before they're sending you business.
Yep, or several years, or however long it takes, maybe. I guess. And yeah, we're in no hurry, I guess. Like, I mean, we are in a hurry. We want to work with you, and I think, as an agent, if you work with us, I think it's a major benefit to your business. Like, I think you're going to gain more referrals because people are going to say, oh my gosh, thank you for having me call the people at Mitten Mortgage Lending. They were so great to work with. They explained everything. So I think it's I kind of lost my train of thought there, but.
Well, let me ask you this, because I know you have conversations with other mortgage brokers. I'm sure some of them think you're crazy, or they're like, how do you do this, Chris? How do you literally provide value for a real estate agent for over a year before they send you a single loan?
It is patient. And some of them do think that we're crazy, but I think you have to, you don't have to. You can, as a salesperson, you can knock on the door and someone can open the door and you can say, hey, what loans do you have? I want them. But for me, I think you need to provide value before you really justify asking for business. So you can ask for business all you want, but it's no different than me cold calling you and saying, hey, give me have some value, do something. What's in it for them? And not that it needs to be like an added benefit, or not that you need to get, there doesn't need to be any exchange of anything. You don't need to give anybody anything, but what's in it for them? Well, what's in it for them? That realtor, I would say most realtors work on a referral only business themselves. So they are also trying to earn more referrals. So they're trying to do a good job. So why would you not want to align your business model with another business who has a very similar, we're both striving to do the same thing. If you're a realtor and you do the greatest job in the world and you refer to a lender and they do a terrible job, your client's not going to say, oh, Justin was such a great realtor, I loved him, but the lending side sucked. They're just going to say, yeah, I don't know, buying a house sucked. And they're just going to associate the whole thing with being a bad experience. Whereas if we can knock it out of the park for you, hopefully you're knocking it out of the park yourself, you're guaranteed to get more referrals from that. And luckily we are too.
One of the ways that you and your LOs are showing that they are true partners to real estate agents is by attending open houses. And you were telling me, and I want you to tell our listeners, that when it comes to weekends and open houses, the people from Mitten are all over the place. People from Mitten are everywhere on the weekend, all over, at least right now, all over Metro Detroit, working open houses. I am certain that there are people in the office right now reaching out to real estate agents that they don't know and that they haven't worked with yet, asking if they can work an open house. And it is unbelievable the amount of agents that almost are dumbfounded when
they ask that, they'll usually answer the phone with their guard up a little bit. As soon as you say you're from a mortgage lender, they're like, okay, I gotta go. And you're like, hey, sorry, I saw you're having an open house. We'd love to help you out on Saturday. Can we come? We got some flyers. We'll bring some water, whatever else you need. And a lot of times they'll stop and go, nobody's ever asked me if they could work my open house before. And we're like, well, we don't need to, but do you want us to? And it works very well. Attending open houses, helping out with things like that. It can go beyond that, just even events. We've got some agents who like us to be there for listing appointments or go to a listing appointment. Hey, I know you guys are going to list your house, but while we're talking about listing your house, I know you're going to have questions about buying. Here's someone that can help you with buying. We're also very big on attending our closings. We attend all of our closings because what a better opportunity than to sit down. And for those LOs who haven't been to a closing before, you don't do anything. You don't need to do anything. You really don't need to be there. But while the borrowers and the sellers are sitting at that end of the table, signing their docs and talking about, the yard and trash day and all that stuff, you're usually at the other end of the table with the buyer's agent and the listing agent on both sides of you. And you usually, it's a free hour to hang out and meet the people that you just, worked with for 2 to 3 weeks.
Once you have the relationship with the realtor, you have very little fallout. What are some of the ways that you're able to make that happen?
Back to how you first mentioned providing value. You can't just provide value once to get the sale, if you will, or to get the business, and then just disappear or go back to being, someone who, I don't know, you wouldn't be on our team if you didn't work and answer the phone and respond to people. But you can't just provide value up front and then kind of pull it all away. You've got to continuously provide value. You've got to continuously help them through their business. Most recently we had the Govy 125 opportunity come up with UWM. Well, awesome opportunity for us, right? But so, we got in front of our past clients, but how many realtors are we working with now that we didn't work with 6 months ago or a year ago or a year and a half ago? So we took the opportunity, called up our real estate partners and said, hey, Govy 125, we've got this special program. I know that you don't get paid on refinances, but if you've got a VA or you've got an FHA borrower, you've got somebody that bought, kind of between here and here, you should touch base with them and let them know, hey, there might be a little bit of a refinance opportunity. Now, again, I know the realtor doesn't get paid on that. I know the real estate agent doesn't make any money when we do a refi, but multiple agents have called us back and said, hey, thank you for telling me that. So-and-so doesn't want to refi, but I called them and their aunt's getting ready to sell their house. And so I got in touch with their aunt or whatever the case is. So, no benefit to them, Govy 125, but still provided value to those agents through another way, I guess, if that makes sense.
And you're making them look good. That's a big part of this, right? You're making the agents look good to their clients, which obviously helps out your relationship as well. You touched on this a moment ago, but I want you to go a bit more into it. You're really big on coaching the realtors to do things the right way. And I know that sometimes that probably means having tough conversations, but why is that something that's a priority for you guys?
Yeah. So great question. So back to originally just talking about like working with integrity and doing the right thing and all that, and aligning, realtors aligning their values with our values. It does lead to some tough conversations. It does lead to some weird conversations, but you'll get agents who are used to, I say, they're not doing anything wrong. They're just working with what they've had. So they've been working with a bad lender who they've had to make excuses for. They've had to kind of,
maybe take some shortcuts.
Yeah. Shape things certain ways or do things certain ways. And it is weird, especially after you've been trying to get a relationship with somebody for 6 or so months. And then you finally get one. And then the first conversation that you have to have with them is maybe a little bit of a tough one. It leads to two things. One, I always joke, you don't have a relationship with someone until you've had a little, resistance in that relationship. And that's not true. You do have a relationship with people and not, but you really don't know what your relationship is until there's a little.
It's kind of like dating, right? After you have that first fight, then you really know where you stand.
It's the first real fight, right? And then you guys figure out are we going to be able, do we fight well together, however it works? But, and back to perfect segue into what I was going to say next with dating, it's very much like dating, and I think it's very important. And I think we covered this actually at UWM Live a little bit, but it's okay to just not be like, sometimes people just can't work together. It's not like, oh my gosh, this agent, is an idiot because they don't some people just do business differently. Some people just don't work well together. Everyone's probably dated someone who it just didn't, they thought they were so great, but it just didn't work. Like they didn't mesh well together. And it's no different with realtors. And it sucks sometimes when you put a ton of time and a ton of effort and a ton of energy into something and it doesn't just work out, but like, that's okay. Take that time, take that energy, take that effort, and just go find another one. Like I don't know the statistic of how many realtors there are nationwide, but there's a lot. Like just go find another one.
The dating analogy to me is always just so on point. It's remarkable how many similarities there are with LOs and realtors, and then just people dating. It's kind of nuts.
It is.
You were telling me too that another big thing that you guys do to make your realtors look good is you're figuring out issues before a loan hits the pipeline.
Yeah, this is one of our biggest things, honestly, that we really live and die by, especially being purchase focused. Now, when I say we're purchase focused, it doesn't mean we don't do refinances. We love when it's refi time. We love to help our clients refi. We love to help them save money, cut the term, cash out, whatever we need to do. We love to do it, but purchases are our main focus. And kind of just going back on some of the other stuff you said, I realized early, if we could specialize in purchase and do a really, really, really good job with purchases, that is not very common, honestly, in the mortgage world. Most mortgage bankers, when brokers, LOs, when they start in mortgages, wherever they start and they get trained, it's on refis. Not saying refis are easy. There's plenty of complications with them, but they can be tricky. But generally speaking, a refi is quick. A refi is easy. Generally speaking, no one's going to be homeless if you mess up their refinance. It's usually just, okay, sorry, you're not going to save this money. We'll try this again when X, Y, or Z changes. With a purchase, I quickly realized, like, your pre-approval is your reputation. Like, your pre-approval letter is your reputation. So if we dish out bad pre-approvals at Mitten Mortgage Lending and we send a realtor shopping with a client for 2 months to find a house, multiple negotiations, they finally get a deal accepted, and then things fall through, that relationship, no matter what happened, is in a rough spot. Like, no matter how long we've had it, no matter what's happened, like that's really, really, really bad. So I very quickly realized, your purchases and your pre-approvals have to be gold. Like it's basically your word it's your word in the mortgage world. So if your word is bad, then obviously your reputation is bad. It's all bad. So we're very keen on, don't get me wrong, like, we do pre-approvals very quickly, but back to the conversation like we talked about with realtors, sometimes you have to have a conversation that's a little bit uncomfortable. Well, sometimes someone needs a pre-approval letter in the next 30 minutes. And sometimes, because of their pay structure or their self-employed, you name it, sometimes it's simply not possible. It is simply not something that we can do. And saying, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I can't issue you that pre-approval, but here's why. Very rarely have we had anyone get upset when you explain to them why we're doing it. Occasionally you have ones get upset, but hey, like I said, you can't work with everybody. But very rarely do we have that. And then after working with us, they understand, like, they just needed an extra 24 hours because we did want to look at the tax returns, because we want to make sure that your self-employed client didn't write off too much and there's not too many losses. So, long answer to your question, but yeah, we're very particular about, we're going to solve, if we look at your loan and you're pre-approved, of course, you're getting a pre-approval letter right away. If there's some questions or there's some guidelines or there's something that we're not sure of, we're not going to send you out and put it in process and then try to figure it out and scramble and panic and do all that. We're just going to figure it out now. And then once it goes into process, everyone knows what's going on. And to elaborate on that just slightly more, everyone has to be communication. Like, everyone has to be on the same page. If I pre-approve you and it's a little hairy or it's a little dicey, or there's a little bit of something that we're unsure of, I'm going to tell you so so that if something does pop up, you're not like, Chris, you lied to me. Why did you? We're going to tell you. Not only we're going to tell you, we're going to talk to your agent. We're not going to go deep into with your agent about your personal information or your stuff, but we're going to let them know, like, hey, XYZ could happen, just so we're all on the same page. And managing expectations and communicating with people, I think is a huge part of it. If you just communicate, like we're in a very imperfect business. A lot of stuff happens in real estate, but good news, bad news, it's all got to travel at the same speed, and everyone needs to know what's going on.
Doing things the right way. You know, we've talked about it a couple of times during this conversation. And to further illustrate that you personally practice what you preach, I want to tell our listeners a brief story. You and I were scheduled for a call a few weeks ago to talk about this podcast, and you were running behind because you were on the phone with a client. You spent a lot of time with this person who was an older client. I want you to just tell our listeners that story and why it's important for you to practice what you preach.
Yeah, and I do remember you called the office, and I don't like to miss appointments, but I was on the phone. I was stuck on the phone. Stuck's not a good word, but I was stuck on the phone. Yeah. And I was helping, if I remember, I know this was a couple weeks back, but I want to say she was like 90.
You said she was a 90-year-old client.
I want to say she was not about 90 years. I'm trying to remember her age, but she's about 90 years old. And, she is in the process of moving into her, I guess, forever home, you know, her final home, as she kept telling me, her last home before she dies, as she kept saying. But she was in the process of moving into her final home, and we were taking a little bit of equity from one of her other houses to set her up with the down payment to kind of get everything done. So it was a multi-step process for her, because we're taking money from a house, we're buying a new house. There's a lot going on. She had a lot of questions. And ultimately, I think when you had called, we were going through e-signing, and it was, you know, it took a little bit of time, but it was just one of those things where, like, she needed help with this. We're not just gonna, sorry, click through it, figure it out, like, call me later. No, like, we're going to help you get through this one way or another. We're really here from your application until you sign the closing papers. And, you know, there's a different subset of clients in between there that need different, you know, with different needs, but whatever needs you have between application and closing, we are going to make sure that we take care of you.
It's good to know that we have clients like you that are out there doing right by people and really giving them the care and treating them the way that, like you said, you'd want to be treated. As we wrap it up, Chris, I want to ask you, what is your message for other LOs, people listening to this? Maybe they're just starting out in their business and they're trying to figure out the way they want to grow. What would you say to them about the value in growing the company slowly and organically like you've done at Mitten?
So I've seen, and it's unfortunate, like, it doesn't make me happy, but when I started Mitten in 2018, I can think of several other companies that I remember when I started, I wasn't really watching them, I was watching us, but I always remembered seeing them in rankings, in broker rankings, just in, you know, monthly and then, you know, quarterly, and it'd be fun to watch. Like, you know, we'd win a month, they'd win a month, and, you know, quarterly, you know, we'd bounce around. It was really fun to watch for the first couple of years. And I can very vividly remember at least one of them almost overnight just tripled our production, like, took off, and they're no longer around. So just, like, there's no, to me, I know some people are, but there is just no rush. Like, if they would have just been going, I'm sure they'd be on the same trajectory that we're on. If they would have just kept, I'll say, doing things right. I think they were taking some they're no longer around, I think, for legal reasons, I think. But, you know, just go slow. There's no rush to this. I have it's hanging in my office, and I think I said this at live as well. It's something that I really feel like I try to just live by, and I think it's great advice, like you said, for those people starting out. I believe it's Warren Buffett quote. Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree 20 years ago. On the same line of things, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So, you know, same idea, same mindset through the whole thing. Like, just plant the tree and water it. And it's really hard when you are, if we're talking about the tree, it's really hard when it's 100 degrees out and the tree's not big enough and it's not giving you shade and you're out there and you're watering it. Like, it really sucks. And you're looking around at all these other people under these giant trees and you don't understand how those trees got there because you didn't watch them grow. But just plant the tree. And honestly, it's something that I try to just stop every once in a while and look back on, like, enjoy it. Like, we just added, you know, if we're going with the tree analogy, like, we just added some branches, right? Like we're continuing to keep growing. We just put some more, we had to, you know, we're moving desks around in our office right now because we had to put more desks in because we need room for more bankers. We're getting, you know, we're getting some extra space for some more conference room, you know, just some more space in our office. And during the midst of all of it, it's really frustrating because I'm running around. We're finding desks. You know, I'm usually assembling desks anyways, like after hours when people leave or beforehand. So during that, it's easy to be frustrated. Like, gosh, this sucks. I gotta go back to the office tonight to build some desks. It's very easy to get caught up in that little bit of like a negative mindset. But if you stop and if I stop for a second and I look back, we were at one point in my back bedroom, you know, that was when you used to Google our office, my house used to pop up as the picture. So, you know, it's just fun for those people starting, like, plant the tree, water it. I think consistency is massive. Like, water it every single day, water it when you don't want to water it. Like, just get at it every single day consistently. Even if you don't have your best that day, go give it whatever you have, get in front of it every day, but water it every day and stop every once in a while and look around and just be like, man, this is working. And it's tough. Like, I would say to anybody that's starting, your first year, especially if you're starting referral only, your first year will suck. However many loans you think you write, you won't. But year 2, year 3, things, as long as you consistently do it, I think things will really, really, really come around and really change for people.
Well, I'll throw one more tree analogy into the mix as we come to the close here. The way that you guys have done it at Mitten, you have seen the forest through the trees. So great job. Continued success to you and the team at Mitten, and we appreciate you joining us. Chris Sabonik with Mitten Mortgage Lending. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you for watching Good Better Broker and helping us support independent mortgage brokers everywhere. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about new videos, as well as your preferred podcast platform for a new episode every other Tuesday.